Hello. I just went to Chipotle. I got a chicken burrito bowl. So that's what I'm going to be eating during this video. Um, I like doing mukbangs because it gives me something to do with my hands while I attempt to talk about my feelings, um, which makes it a little bit easier. Um, so what prompted this is I do this thing where I talk to myself in the mirror whenever there's something that's like bothering me or that I think about a lot. And then like I'll literally just stand in the mirror for like 2 hours and like talk about it. Um, so in an attempt to be less crazy, I'm just gonna try to talk through it on camera. Because maybe I'll be a little more concise and try to like say things clearer. Anyways, the moral of the story is I'm having some problems. I've been having some feelings lately, which isn't great. So first of all, I would like to say that I've been feeling better lately, mentally. I finally got on a normal sleep schedule, so now I'm like asleep by midnight every night, and I wake up before like 10 a.m. every day, which has been great, because I find that I get the most depressed, in the middle of the night. So now that I don't exist in the middle of the night, things have been great. I go outside during daytime hours. I've been like running errands more. Today I actually, instead of going through a drive-thru, like to get Chipotle, you have to like go in and talk to a person. So I did that, which is a big step up because usually I just go and like go through a drive-thru because you don't have to step out of the car and no one can tell that you haven't bathed in a week. Speaking of that, I showered 2 days in a row so far. So, things are on the up and up. But, yeah, I've just been, like, thinking a lot lately. Especially because, like, I'm about to go on vacation for, like, a month. And, I'm gonna be in LA in, like, assorted areas in California for the next, like, 3 weeks, basically. And in being in new places, you talk to new people, and I've been struggling a lot with trying to figure out what my identity is now. Beforehand, it's like when you make small talk with people, they ask like, oh, what are you doing in the city? Why are you here? Whenever I moved to New York, people were like, oh, what brought you to New York? Are you a student? What are you doing? Stuff like that. And before, my identity was so tied in with Nathan because, like, whenever I moved to New York, the reason that I moved to New York was because I moved so that we could live together after I graduated from college. And then, like, whenever I moved to Philadelphia, I moved because he had a job. And those are things that I was so proud of, too, because, like, I moved to New York because he was getting his master's from Columbia. And then, like, we moved to Philly because he got, like, a dope job that he loved. And so, those things became part of my identity because when people would ask, why are you here? How did you end up here? What's your story? I'd be like, oh, yeah, my fiance and I. So it's weird not having that because now when people ask like, oh, what are you doing in Texas? Are you from Texas? Have you always lived here? It's just hard to try to navigate around that. Because also the other part of it is like, I don't want to have to rehash my like story over and over and over to people, especially to strangers. It's like, it's exhausting. And, I find that sometimes if I don't mention things, like I'll offhandedly be like, oh yeah, I lived in New York. And people will be like, oh, like, how did you get there? And then it just opens up this like huge can of worms. And I feel like I just need to come up with some like lie to tell people. But the issue is like, it's just like, I'm trying to figure out who I am as, like, myself without also having to, like, feel sad every time I talk about myself. And the other aspect of that is like the debate of like, when do I take my rings off whenever I go out in public? You know, living in Texas, it's easy. It's like not a thought. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wear my rings all the time. But then whenever I go to other places, whenever I go to Austin or whenever I go to LA or whatever, and I'm interacting with new people, it's like, what sort of image do I want people to see when they look at me? Or what part of me do I want to, like, have to portray to other people, I guess. You know, it's like if I'm wearing my rings and I meet a new person, generally a very easy way to break the ice with people is to be like, oh, you're married, or like, you know, whatever. It's like, oh, I see the rings on your hands, you're married, cool, like, let's talk about that. And then it's just like, well, actually, no, I'm not married. I'm a widow. This is why, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, if I'm not wearing my rings, then it's just like, that's a whole new set of, like, just the way that I'm showing up in public. And it's hard to try to decide, like, what I want to do and what I want. Basically, I have to figure out what kind of social interactions I want to curate for myself, because I have the opportunity to curate what I want to say to people and what I want to show to people, or whatever. This is a lot of rambling. I don't know if any of this is making any sort of sense. But, whatever. I've just been having a hard time trying to figure out, you know, who is this bitch? Who is she? We don't fucking know. I just want to be like that mysterious aunt that shows up at Thanksgiving every year and they're like, oh yeah, she definitely, like, maybe murdered her husband. She's real weird, but she drinks a bottle of wine and broods in the corner, you know? Except, like, at this point, I don't want to give off the vibe that I murdered my husband, because I think that's maybe the wrong message to send. But, down the line, in the future, I'd love to be that weird aunt, you know? So, that's, like, kind of how I've adopted my new, like, aesthetic. I wear a lot more black. I look just generally displeased when I'm in public. Very mysterious. I'm a woman of few words now, because, once again, don't know what words to say, don't know how to interact with humans in a way that's not hard for me. So, yeah. Dyed my hair black, gave myself bangs. It's like I'm gone girling myself at this point. I'm going through it. Jesus Christ. So yeah. The other thing that I want to talk about is I've been thinking about the concept of, like, dating, and not in, like, a tangible sense. Like, I absolutely have no fucking interest in, like, talking to a male human, at least for a long time, you know, and there's part of me that's like, whatever, if someone just falls into my life, then, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I can't do this, but at the same time, I'm not seeking anything out, because I can't. I just can't, and I don't want to, necessarily. But, like, I've just been thinking about it, and how, like, daunting of a task that's gonna be. You know, part of why I love... Sorry. I'm getting sad. Part of why I loved, like, being with Nathan so much is it was so easy. You know, we had known each other for 10 years leading up to when we started dating. So by the time that we got together, it's like, not only did we know each other, like, it's not like we were acquaintances, like, we were very, very, very close friends for 10 years leading up to when we started dating. So then once we got together, everything just, like, was easy. It all made sense. There was no, like, awkward getting to know each other stage and, like, you know, figuring out someone's deep, dark secrets and being like, ooh, that's spooky. And there was no, like, dancing around, like, when should we move in together? When should we get engaged? Like, these sort of, like, timeline things. It's like the second that we got together, I was like, okay, I'm gonna move to New York as soon as I graduate. And then, like, we'll go from there. And then, like, once I moved, it was like, you know, even before I moved to New York, I gave Nathan the ring for him to propose to me with. So that was, like, you know, in the works before we moved in together. And it was great because it was like, we got to make up for lost time very quickly. You know, like, we only got 2 years together, but it was no, like, you know, I'm so thankful that we got those 2 years, because, like, being in a relationship with him was the easiest thing, and, like, it felt like we had been together for 10 years, you know. I remember, like, every anniversary I'd be like, oh my god, I can't believe it's only been, you know, a year, or whatever. But yeah, it was just, like, it was so easy, and it was a lot of work, but, like, it was worth it. And so, like, you know, we bypassed all of this, like, weird shit that you have to deal with when you're going into, like, a new relationship with someone. And I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that, like, even though I did struggle sometimes with, like, opening up to him about how I was feeling emotionally, at the same time, I felt safe all the time because, you know, he knew me back in high school, like, whenever I was at, like, my worst. Because, like, I've always been very depressed, but I also used to be a bad person, too. Like, I very much, like, took things out on people. I was very angry. I was just a little shit goblin back in high school. You know, it's just, like, when you're growing up, you're shitty. And then plus, like, mental illness on top of that, it's just, like, yeah, I suck. But he knew me then. And so anytime I was, like, depressed or whatever in our relationship, I would always be so apologetic. I feel so bad. But he was always like, I knew what I was getting into. I've known you for a while. This isn't, you know. So I always felt safe because I never had to feel, you know, like I was gonna spook him and scare him off. I always had that sense of, like, protection and safety, and it was so nice knowing that, like, I could be myself even on my, like, bad days and know that he was still going to be right by my side. You know, every time I was, like, a shit goblin in our relationship, you know, he'd be like, I'm here, like, for better or for worse. It's fine. Like, just tomorrow you'll be better. We'll deal with today. It's okay. And so, like, the thought of having to, like, go into a new relationship and just sit there and open up all of these boxes of, like, the things that have happened to me in my past and who I used to be. You know, it's hard to sit here and describe who I used to be. And it's hard to, like, describe events and who I was through those events and whatever to another person. And it was easy with Nathan because he was there, you know. I didn't have to describe things. Like, he was there. He knew who I was. And so that's been, like, really hard for me to think about is the fact that, like, I'm gonna have to do that again. That's really scary. But yeah, and then my other thing about dating is, like, one thing that, you know, whenever I was in high school and then early into college, I didn't really date people. I wasn't that interested. And it just, like, it didn't matter to me. I had no desire to be in a romantic relationship with someone. And that's not to say that I wasn't, like, involved with people, because I was, but I had no, like, long-term relationships, basically, because that just didn't matter to me. That wasn't, like, a need that I needed fulfilled. And, like, Nathan always said, like, I don't know if he ever said it to me or if it was just, like, when he was talking to other people about me, but he would always say, like, I wish that I hadn't dated anyone else. Like, I wish that I just, like, if I knew that me and Stephanie were going to get together, I wish that I would have just waited. Because he felt like he just wasted time in all of his other relationships. Which is kind of true, because he dated a bunch of, like, really awful women. But, so, you know, like, nowadays, I see all of my friends in their, like, shitty relationships, and they're just, like, dating shitty dudes, and, like, you know, just dealing with a bunch of shit that sucks. And, like, I didn't have to deal with that, you know? I didn't date anyone. Then I was with Nathan. Then I got engaged, and I was like, oh, sweet. Like, I never have to deal with a shitty dude in my life. Which was dope. But now, I'm like, oh, god damn it. Like, I'm too exhausted to deal with shitty dudes. Which I guess is, like, a good thing, because I'll just, like, cut people out very quickly if they do anything shitty. I mean, the thing is, like, at this point in my life, I've got very high self-esteem. I've got very little need for a partner. So, like, someone has to be really fucking dope for me to, like, waste my time dealing with it, you know? I'm too old to play games. Like, I'm a widow, dude. I don't have time for this shit. So, I've got that going for me, but just, like, the thought of, I'm so exhausted. Just with the thought of, like, having to date people, like, go out on dates and, like, find someone. Ugh, that sucks. That fucking sucks. Like, I was so extraordinarily lucky that Nathan and I got together and that it worked out, because there was always a chance that maybe we wouldn't have, you know, I never doubted anything ever, but there was still a chance that we wouldn't have been compatible in some sort of way, you know, that maybe whenever we moved in together, it would have just, like, shit would have hit the fan or whatever, but everything was always so fucking perfect. So I was so, like, lucky to have that and to have found that so young, you know. Nathan and I would always talk about how, like, lucky we were, how crazy it is that, like, oh, like, we're getting married this young, but, like, it's dope because, like, we don't have to deal with bullshit, and, like, we were just very lucky to have found each other, and that things worked out somehow, despite the odds. Like, throughout our entire relationship, there were so many times when, like, we genuinely thought that we were done, that we had, like, lost each other and we weren't going to see each other ever again. Just, like, with transitions in our lives and with, you know, how shitty we were in high school to each other. Because even though we were best friends, like, there is still some bullshit. Whatever. It's like petty high school drama, you know? But there are so many opportunities where our lives definitely could have veered away from each other, and somehow we kept coming back to each other over and over and over until finally we were like, okay, fuck it. We just have to do this. And like, we were so lucky that things worked out. And that's like, that's kind of what fucks me up the most, is that I've spent my entire life afraid of losing him. And I've spent my entire life trying not to lose him. And I've spent my entire life coming back to him. And I finally thought that that was over. You know, like, when we got together, and then again when we got engaged, I thought that that was over. I thought that I was never gonna have to worry about losing him again. And then, you know, he fucking dies. You know, it's just crazy to think about that, like, we've had so many brushes with losing one another, but we never actually did, literally, until one of us died. Wow. You know, I think about, like, one night, when I lived in Philly, there was one night I couldn't sleep, and he was asleep next to me, and I just remember, like, laying in bed, and I was like, oh my god, like, I love you so much. Like, he was just, like, snoring next to me, and I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck? Like, I'm so in love, this is dumb. But that was the night when I wrote, like, my wedding vows. It just felt right. You know, it's 5 a.m. and I can't sleep, and, like, I was, like, stupid in love with this person. And, like, in that, I said, I always knew it would be until death do us part. Today proves that to be true. You know, whatever. And then I continued on. And which some of you may know this already because you've read it, but at his funeral I did a eulogy, and in the eulogy I read those vows because I wasn't gonna get a chance to at the wedding, and it was just like, what the fuck? Like, it truly was until death do us part. Except we didn't get to get married first. Which is cool. Love that for me. But yeah, it's just crazy to think about. Like literally the only thing that kept us from each other is death. So, and like, along with all the marriage stuff, another thing that's come up lately is, like, sometimes I make offhanded comments about, like, oh, well, now I'm never getting married, or, like, you know, oh, cool, I never have to plan a wedding again now. And every time I do that, people are like, oh my god, don't say that, like, you're gonna get married, it'll be fine, like, you're not gonna be alone forever. And, like, the thing is I don't want to get married. It was so, like, special for Nathan and I, because neither of us were people that believed in marriage. We were both very against it in, like, our past relationships and whatever. And then as soon as we got together, we were both like, oh yeah, we have to get married. Because that's what made sense, you know? It felt like what was the most correct for our relationship. It felt like the most appropriate way to celebrate what we had been through. You know, we deserved to have this thing because we had spent our entire lives chasing each other, and that was just like, you know, we needed something that was just as grandiose as whatever. And like, now that he's gone, I feel the same way about marriage. It's dumb, and I don't believe in it, and there's no one that I could ever meet that could change that, especially now. It's like, marriage was something that was just for me and Nathan. And that's how I feel. And like, I will never get engaged again. I don't want to get married. But, you know, and every time I say that, people are like, don't say that. You know, you'll change your mind. You'll find someone. It's like, no, I won't. Not unless I spend another 10 years chasing someone down until finally they're like, okay, I guess I'll marry you. You know? I'm like, I'm not gonna do that again. I don't know, dude. I just like, it's just so fucking crazy. It really was till death do us part, and I cannot fucking believe that. I don't know. Yeah, wow. Life is, fucked up, isn't it, guys? The other day, someone was like, yeah, you deserve something good in the new year. And I was like, yeah, are you fucking kidding me? My life's been a shit show for the last 3 years. Like, I lost my dad and my fiance within the last 3 years. Like, yeah, when's it gonna be my time to get anything good? You know? Also, the other thing, someone also said to me, they were like, you know, you seem like you're not really afraid of anything. And I was like, yeah, you know, you looked death in the face 5 times in the last 3 years or whatever. It's, pretty easy to not be afraid of anything anymore. It's like, when you don't fear dying, you know, what's a roller coaster? What's a spider? You know? It's like, I wake up every day hoping I fucking get hit by a car. I'll play with your pet spider, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I'll jump out of a plane. Like, oh, the worst thing that could happen is you die if you skydive. Yeah, sign me the fuck up. I would love that. Like, I've always been someone who has a very, poor sense of danger. As in, like, I don't look before I cross the street, and, like, I get too drunk whenever I go out and don't plan a way home, and then I somehow figure it out. I do stupid shit like that all the time. I've always been like that. When Nathan and I got together, I tried to stop it, and he helped me stop it, because he was like, please don't die, and I was like, yeah, I guess so. But now I'm just like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like, yeah, sign me up for skydiving. Sure. I'll do anything that means I might die. I would love that at this point. Like, for Christmas, yeah, I hope I'm fucking 6 feet under the ground, dude. That's all I want. Just like the sweet release of death. Can Santa deliver that to me, please? I don't know. But anyways, this has been a wild ride. What a sad mukbang. I love just crying into my burrito bowl. I'm gonna go finish this. Thank you for your time. Good night.